Life Strength and Health Podcast, Episode 3.
Whenever you become sick, whether it's a physical illness or a mental, emotional illness, that illness is the result of a blockage in the flow of energy, okay? Energy has to flow.
Welcome, everyone. This is Life Strength and Health Podcast with Jamal and Kim, where each and every week we educate, empower, and inspire you to live healthier. So let's dive into the show. Hi, Kim and Jamal here, and welcome to another episode of Life Strength and Health Podcast. We have another great interview for you today. Today we are joined by Yirser Hotep. Yirser, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Greetings, Yirser. Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate your presence.
Well, greetings, and thank you for inviting me. It's always my pleasure to share, information about Kemetic yoga.
Yes. And so before we dive in, I just want to share with anyone out there who's listening who is not familiar with Yirser. I just want to read a little bit of information about the work he's doing and what Yirser is all about. Yirser Hotep is a master instructor of yoga and the creator of the Yoga Skills Method. He is the most senior instructor of Kemetic yoga in the United States with over 30 years experience practicing and teaching. Yirser was involved with the original research and documentation of Kemetic yoga along with master instructor Dr. Asar Hapi in the 1970s. Yirser has continued to research, document, and expand on the foundations of Kemetic yoga. He has written extensively, lectured, and led workshops throughout the United States, Africa, and the Caribbean, including Cuba. Yirser has been featured in publications such as Yoga Journal, Yoga Chicago, Chicago Tribune, Chicago Parent, African Business and Culture, to name a few. He has also been interviewed and featured on WGN TV, ABC TV, NBC TV, CBS TV, and has appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Wow, that's a nice resume there. And the interesting thing about it is you've done so much for Kemetic yoga, but still, the average person that you bump into and you talk about Kemetic yoga, they still don't know what it is. So the word still needs to get out and people need to understand the importance of it, especially in the Black community, because like in our circle, we're surrounded with yogis and people that do yoga all the time. And we know many of your student instructors that teach classes and things like that. But a lot of people still don't know, especially in our community. So Yirser, tell us your story. How did you begin your personal journey as a yogi, and your path to helping others to, be enlightened on yoga?
Well, my personal story is that it's been almost 40 years, and I decided when I turned 21 that I was going to change my lifestyle, and I decided to adopt a holistic lifestyle based upon the consumption of a plant-based diet, and physical fitness, mental fitness. And so I started, I stopped eating, meat and processed foods. I stopped eating dairy products. I basically became a fruitarian because I really didn't know how to prepare, vegetarian food, because it was so long ago that, all the different products that they have available now weren't available back then.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know anybody who was a vegetarian. But this was something that just came to me that I decided to do. I found a book by Dick Gregory that helped me out, and I started to study. And I started, I was always into, sports. So in addition to changing my diet, I got into, things like running, doing calisthenics and things like that, Um, and I felt so good when I changed my diet because from the age of about 6 until to the age of 21, I had headaches just about every day. I had stomach
Wow.
aches just about every day, and I still lived my life. I still went to school. I still played sports, but I wasn't really all that, healthy from an internal level,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, so from there, after about a year being into this regimen of basically being a fruitarian and being into running and calisthenics, I got introduced to yoga. And when I went to the yoga class that I was invited to, I was very reluctant to go because I was expected to see a little Indian man with his legs crossed, in a little diaper and stuff, and I had all these stereotypes. I didn't know anything about
Right.
yoga,
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
when I got there, it was a brother, on the west side of Chicago. He was 6'5". He could do just about anything with his body in terms of yoga postures.
Mm.
And even though, I was only, I was young, but I couldn't really. My body was really stiff at that time. But the only thing that I could really do was the mummy pose, which is like a total relaxation position, laying on the floor, and I could do a headstand in the
Mm.
first
Okay.
class. But that was all I could do because I really couldn't even touch. I really couldn't bend down far enough to even touch my knees. I really couldn't even sit with my legs crossed. But when my teacher told me his story, that he had, that he had healed his body and transformed his body through practicing yoga, I said, well, I could do the same thing because, you from the west side, I'm from the south side. We just, we're the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. So if you could do this, I can do this. So I would practice about, 8 to 12 hours a day, every day.
Wow.
And I went to class every Sunday morning. I had to take the train one end from one end of the city, from the where the train ended. I had to take it all the way to a whole nother suburb of Chicago
Mm-hmm.
to get to class every Sunday. But I never missed a class. And in between the time, I practiced every day, on my own. And so after about a year, my teacher was telling me, well, you should start teaching yoga because I'm going to be leaving. And he said I should start teaching and taking over classes that he was doing and things like that. And so that's how I got started into teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And when in the mid 1970s, we had this exhibit of the King Tut exhibit came to Chicago. And prior to that, we had sort of known, we sort of, just philosophically understood that since things like religion and civilization and culture came from ancient Egypt, we figured that yoga must have too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But we really didn't have, any specific information about that. So when the King Tut exhibit came, there was a chair in the exhibit, and it had an image. It was a carving. It was the back of the chair, and it was a carving of a yoga posture. And so from that, we were able to see the symbols and see the actual pose. And then we just basically figured out how to get into the posture, how to breathe through the posture,
Mm-hmm.
and we interpreted and translated the hieroglyphs, the Medu Neter that was associated, and we interpreted the symbols, and we could see that those symbols were identical in meaning to the same symbols that you would see in yoga.
Mm.
So there were symbols that related to the Kundalini. There were symbols that related to the crown chakra. There were symbols that related to the Ajna chakra, the third eye chakra.
Mm-hmm.
There were symbols that related to the different nadis or the energy channels, especially those that's associated with the spine and with the left and the right nostril. and we saw a lot of alchemical symbolism in it also. And so that's how we sort of came up with this whole idea of Kemetic yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time we called it Egyptian yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started studying with Dr. Jacob Carruthers, he was my hieroglyphics teacher, my Medina teacher.
Mm-hmm.
We started to learn the specific names and more about the language of ancient Kemet. And so that's sort of how I got started.
That's a great story. And you really touched on some powerful things because, I know that, me and my wife, we started to get into yoga, and I was extremely tight. And when we went to these classes, the instructors were always just like small women. And I even used to question, was it possible for Black men to be that flexible? And I've taken, a few of your classes. And for those who don't know, Yirser is a big guy. He's a big guy. And when I walked in your class and saw you doing, these postures and just doing the movements and flowing through yoga, it was very inspiring. And it really showed me that, it's possible for our bodies to get into this position. So it's important. It's very important. And just to get a little bit more specific, why do you feel that Kemetic yoga is important for people?
So Kemetic yoga, number one, the first thing I'm gonna say about Kemetic yoga is that it is yoga that at least the way what I call the yoga skills method of Kemetic yoga, because different people use the term Kemetic yoga, but everything, everybody's not coming from the same place.
Okay.
The Kemetic yoga that I teach, I feel that it is in keeping with the proper way that yoga originally was meant to be taught.
Mm-hmm.
The way yoga is taught now is that it's mostly taught as a physical exercise.
Yeah.
Something that you do for flexibility, something that you do to strengthen your core, something that you do to tone your muscles and all those things. And in reality, those things are like the least important aspects of what yoga is about. Those are what you call side effects.
Right.
So the real purpose of doing yoga and the real importance or the real benefit of doing yoga, doing this Kemetic yoga skills method of Kemetic yoga, is that it's going to really allow you to get into the totality of what yoga is about. So when I say the totality, I'm talking about the true breathing, the combination of breathing and movement, and the ability to move life force and energy through your body. So Kemetic yoga, the way that we teach it is based upon the movement of life force and energy, the enhancement, the cultivation of life force and energy, and we call it an internal practice. So that means that we're working on the internal aspects of ourselves. It incorporates a knowledge of spiritual anatomy. So it incorporates the way that in the same way that when you practice yoga just on the physical level, you should have an understanding of anatomy and physiology, how different muscle groups work and things like that. So we know that in ancient Kemet, that the body was divided into layers, right? Not the body, but our being, who we are in totality was divided into different layers. So we have the Ba, the Ka, the Ku, so on and so forth. We have these different layers that represent different aspects of our being. So when we practice yoga, it should affect us on the level of the physical body or the structure, which means the muscular system and the skeletal system. It should affect us on the level of the internal organs in terms of improving the functioning of the internal organs. It should affect us on a glandular level in terms of affecting the functioning of the endocrine system. It should affect us on the energetic level in terms of moving life force through the energy channels. Mm-hmm. So we know that our bodies is more than just physical. Our bodies is, we have an energy body, we have a spirit body, we have a bioenergetic body. And so that body is the life force. That body is, the system of energy channels through which energy flows, and incorporates the chakras, or the kata kasa, as they would be saying in an ancient Kemetic language. Mm-hmm. And it incorporates the energy channels, or what they call the nadis, the energy through which the life force flows. And so when we practice, so whenever we do a yoga posture, or whenever we do yoga meditation, it should be affecting all of those layers of our being. Also the mental aspects of ourselves and the emotional aspects of ourselves. All of those things, when you're doing one yoga posture, mm-hmm. you should be affecting yourself on all those different levels. And so, and ultimately, the goal of the practice of Kemetic yoga is supposed to be self-realization and self-actualization. Mm-hmm. And so those were the two goals of the ancient Kemetic, what they call the mystery system, mm-hmm. The system of self-development, self-realization, understanding what your true nature is, and that you are not just this physical, limited being, but you have an unlimited potential, and then actually putting into action, your potential, and then reaching your potential. So that's self-actualization. Mm. And so when you practice yoga, you should become better in everything that you do, not only in your health and your wellness and your strength and your flexibility, but also in everything that you do in terms of your relationships, your professional development, your economic development, your internal psychology, in that you see that you are a powerful being and not just somebody who's a victim of this racist system, mm-hmm. white supremacist system that we live under, and just viewing yourself as just being a person that's affected by that. But you start to view yourself as somebody who that has no effect upon me, because I go beyond that. Mm-hmm. I live in a universe where that doesn't hold me back. Mm-hmm. I can master and conquer that.
Wow.
Right.
You just said it a whole lot. I definitely advise everyone to go back and listen to this a couple of times, because he's really laying out some deep things. And, one of the things that we try to teach our listeners is the importance of taking a holistic approach to life and everything that they do. That it should be a whole, no isolated things. And it seems like, in our society right now, we deal with a lot of isolations. We go into the whole of things and we take out isolated things, and that's how we kind of look at everything fractionized. And it's important for people to take this holistic approach. I mean, yoga pretty much encompasses everything. And we're talking about an ancient African practice. A lot of times when people think about yoga, they think about, Indian culture, Hindu. They don't think about Africa. So specifically, as for the Black community, why is it important for Black people to embrace their ancient African system of yoga?
Well, because number one, it's better than doing commercial yoga. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, I'm saying that not based upon any type of ego or anything. But when you do the research, you see that they basically are telling us in the commercial mainstream yoga world that yoga is this 5,000-year-old practice that comes from India. Mm-hmm. But most of the things that you're being taught when you go to yoga class is not 5,000 years old, and it's not even from India. Most of it's from California and from London, from England, because because I've done the research. When you go back and you look at when you study ancient India and you say, well, what yoga was they doing 5,000 years ago? You can't really find anything. You know, you can find small little tidbits of yoga ideas and yoga practice going back several thousand years in ancient India, but you don't see all of these hundreds and hundreds or thousands of different postures that they claim come from India. You don't see Ashtanga yoga, as they claim is the most ancient form of yoga. Most of these ideas or information that they're giving us is false. And you have Europeans writing books who doing the same research, who are documenting this information, that the British came into India a couple hundred years ago, and they incorporated what they call British gymnastics into the practice of yoga as a means of training young men to be part of their military, to oppress, to impose their will upon the Indian people and to send them off to fight in their colonial wars. So a lot of these very gymnastic type of yoga postures and things, that's where they come from. They come from the British. And you could find all of those books written that show the British guys in the 1880s and 1890s doing the same exact postures that you see these people doing today. And they call it Ashtanga yoga, and they call it Iyengar yoga. But when you go back and you look at the documents, you go back and you go to ancient Kemet and you look at the walls of the temple. I can take you to the temple of I can take you to Saqqara and Kemet, and I can show you images on the tomb or the tomb of Tagini, and you can see yoga that's 6,000 years old. Yoga posture is 6,000 years old. So we can clearly see that yoga goes back probably at least 10,000 years in ancient Kemet. And we can see not just obscure little yoga postures, but we can see very sophisticated poses.
Yeah.
Not acrobatic, what you call it, contortionist type of things, like putting your legs behind your head. These very geometric postures that are aligning the spine and allow the energy to rise. And you see the symbols associated with it too. These things are much, much older in Kemet than they are in India. And in addition to being older, they're much more sophisticated. They're much more complex. And and the ideas behind them are much more developed than what you would see in India. So we as Black people, we as people of African descent, we really need to develop an appreciation of our culture. When you go to yoga classes, when you go to the mainstream yoga classes, or you go to the mainstream yoga teacher training, they try to tell you that you have to say these different yoga positions in Sanskrit, that you have to use Sanskrit language when you talk about different yoga ideas. Why? If I say I'm going to do the forward bending pose, I got to say forward bending pose in Sanskrit. If I want to say triangle pose, I got to say triangle pose in Sanskrit. Why are they doing that? Because they try to tell us that this culture that comes from India is the source and the origin of this practice. But we already know that in ancient Kemet and in other parts of traditional African society, that people have been doing yoga for thousands of years. And that many cultures, that the Olmec culture of Mexico and Central America, the Mayans later, and the Aztecs they all had yoga also. The Native American people have yoga and meditation systems, you know. These things are universal. They're not just something that comes from India. So we need to have an appreciation that of our own culture, and when we try to really identify with our own culture, who do we identify with? We identify with ourselves. When we identify with Indian culture, when we identify with Hindu culture, we are not identifying with ourselves. You know, we identify with something which is foreign to us.
Right.
And so so for me, not only do in Kemetic yoga systems and ancient African yoga systems, we have an identification with our own culture, but we also have best practices and quality of practice. When you look at, when you do the research, you can see that a lot of people who doing the there's a lot of injuries that's being caused in the mainstream yoga world. That people are tearing their Achilles tendon, throwing their backs out, all kind of different things like that because of this emphasis on purely physical. When women practice a stronger yoga, it has a masculine effect upon their bodies.
Wow.
Their body, they start to lose their feminine qualities and their feminine energy because that what they call a stronger yoga is a primary example of this military yogic idea that was incorporated into that system by the British.
Wow.
You know, that's why they go so fast. That's why they talk about making your muscles and your core strong and all that kind of stuff, because it was based upon training men for the military. It is really not even for the feminine body.
Wow. This is incredibly enlightening. Thank you for sharing this information, because I know a lot of times Black people, they can't, like you said, identify with yoga and with Kemetic yoga. I mean, how could you not identify? And hopefully this is something that could really inspire our listeners to get involved with Kemetic yoga and understand the importance of doing it. And one of the things that you spoke about was using your breath with yoga. And a lot of times when people, actually, I won't even say when they think about it, because people don't even think about the breath, let alone talk about it. No, it's just kind of like an afterthought because we automatically do it. Can you take a moment and just talk about the power of the breath and how that kind of powers yoga?
Well, I would just ask people to think about it logically, because that's one of the things that critical thinking and logical thinking is something that we have really gotten away from. If you just think logically, if I was hungry, I'm going to go get some food, right? And I eat, most people eat 3 meals a day. They snack all day because they're always hungry, or they feel like I have to have some nutrients for my body. But how long can you go without? You can go. I've been on a 30-day fast with no food. I didn't die. A person could be, in the desert for a couple of weeks and they can live without any water, right? But how long can you go? How long can you go without breathing?
Right.
So you can after 5 minutes, you're gonna die. Your brain will be dead. It won't be able to sustain the functioning of your body, and you will be dead. So breathing is the most important thing that we do. It is our number one and primary source of nutrition. It's what keeps us alive. The breath has the life force in it. In Indian yoga, they use the term prana. In Kemetic yoga, we use the word shu or ankh. Shu means breath. Ankh is the life force that is contained within the breath. And so the first thing that we do is we have to breathe. Even when you read the Bible, what does it say? It says God took some dirt, shaped into the shape of a person, and then he breathed the breath of life. So we know that breath of life that we are dealing with is something that comes directly from the Creator. It is that creative force that
Mm-hmm.
causes us to be alive. We know that we have a physical body that's based upon a circulatory system, a respiratory system, a skeletal system, digestive system. But we also have a non-physical body, which is based upon a system of energy channels through which the life force flows, and energy wheels, or what they commonly call the chakras, which conducts the flow of energy throughout the body and are connected to our developmental system, our system of development from childhood into adulthood into higher levels of consciousness. So, so the breath is the foundation of all those things. Whenever you become sick, whether it's a physical illness or a mental, emotional illness, that illness is the result of a blockage in the flow of energy.
Right.
Okay, energy has to flow. When you go to if you go to an acupuncturist, the acupuncturist is trained to diagnose where there is a blockage in the flow of your life force or your energy channels. They call those energy channels meridians. So he puts the needle in the place where the energy is blocked, and then that insertion of the needle helps that energy to open up and flow again. And so all illness, all disease, regardless of what name you put on it, regardless of what type of disease vector or whatever it is that's supposed to be causing this disease, the disease is the result of the blockage of the energy.
Right.
And by the time that you notice a symptom that you are having illness or some type of sickness or disease, that energy had been blocked for some time, and it had become it had created a stagnant condition whereby the energy wasn't able to flow, that resulted in that particular illness. And so regardless what the illness is, it's because of a blockage in the flow of energy. And so breath is what allows this energy to flow.
Right.
So when we do controlled deep breathing, when we do yoga movements and postures, it should be with the primary intention to cause energy to move and to flow through the energy body, through the energy channels, in the same way that the physical body has its own anatomy that you can see on an X-ray, that you can see on an MRI. The non-physical body has its own anatomy, its own physiology that you cannot see on an X-ray or you cannot see on an MRI because it is operating on a non-physical level. And by that, it simply means that it's operating on a vibrational frequency of existence, which is higher than our ability to see with the naked eye or to see with most of the conventional instruments that medical science uses to view and use as diagnostic tools. But we know that we have an aura, right? Everybody talks about the aura. And the aura is simply a manifestation of that life force. It's a manifestation of that energy. It's a manifestation of the breath. When the breath is able to flow properly and breath is able to flow smoothly, and we have abundance of this breath and life force in our bodies, we have a very strong aura. When we have blockages in the energy, when the energy is weak, when the amount of life force that we have contained within us is low, the aura is going to reflect that. It's going to be a weak aura. The color is going to change. You're going to see different little blotches or different little spaces in the aura where it's not strong yet. Things like stress is going to affect the energy. So that's one of the reasons why we emphasize in yoga being calm, not because it's just to be nice, be like a nice person, but it's because when you're upset and angry and have anxiety and worry, it causes you to really, you're killing yourself. Really. You're burning yourself up. You're causing this blockage in the flow of energy. So even when you look at the word respiratory system, right? You look at the word respiratory. You take off the RE in the beginning and the ORY at the end. You left with the middle suffix, right? Or the the main word, which is spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you take a breath, you are re-spiritizing yourself.
Mm.
So the breath is fundamental. The breath is the most powerful thing that you do. And if you don't learn anything else in your practice of yoga, you should learn how to breathe, because breathing is going to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your relaxation response. And so that's going to lower your blood pressure. That's going to stimulate your digestive system. That's going to stimulate your eliminative system. That's going to help your circulatory system function better. You know, that's going to cause your body's ability to heal itself to increase. You know, you're enhancing your body's natural ability to heal itself when you practice controlled deep breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So simply laying on the floor or sitting with your legs crossed, sitting in a chair, sitting up on the couch, however you want to do it, and just close your eyes and just simply breathing in slowly and breathing out slowly is probably the most powerful thing that you can do for your health.
Thank you for sharing that. And before we go any further, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors. Let's face it, we are living in a world set up for us not to be healthy. And with the overabundance of health information available, it's so easy to get overwhelmed and confused on which path to take, which leads to inaction and not making health a top priority. Well, that can all change. We are Life Strength and Health, the #1 center in New Jersey for helping you to detoxify and address your digestive system challenges. We provide support, accountability, guidance, education. We will be with you every step of the way to help simplify this process and help you to reach your health goals. So if you're ready to take action, if you're ready to make your health a top priority, then visit us at lifestrengthandhealth.com or give us a call at 1-800-503-7127 and book your consultation today. Don't live in the New Jersey area? Don't sweat it. We can work with you virtually. So visit us at lifestrengthandhealth.com or give us a call at 1-800-503-7127 and book your consultation or virtual consultation today.
Now, as far as meditation is concerned and yoga, like how do those two connect?
Well, meditation is part of yoga, just like geometry and trigonometry are part of mathematics.
Right.
You know, it's all part of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you practice yoga, meditation is a part of that practice. So the first step in your practice of yoga is to learn, number one, like I was saying, learning how to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, learning, so in Kemetic yoga, we do what we call the cleansing breath, which is which is a form of abdominal breathing and a cleansing, a release of old air and toxins out of the respiratory system. And then we do the mummy pose, which is a total relaxation position. And so what is meditation? Meditation is a step-by-step process. So the first step is relaxation. The second step is concentration. So once you get your body to relax, the next thing you want to do is get your mind to relax and get your mind to focus. As you allow your body to relax, your mind to focus, what comes next? It is becoming aware of what's happening internally. So now you become aware of the fact that you have this life force and this energy, which is actually circulating in your body. When we are in a non-mindful state of being, we're not aware of what's happening.
Right.
But when we slow down and we focus inwardly, we can say, oh, I have this energy. I have this life force which resides 3 inches below my navel at the base of my spine. So now I can use my breath to connect to that energy, and I can use my breath along with my mind to pull that energy up my spine and move it up to the crown of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm practicing meditation, I'm not just sitting there like just trying not to think about anything.
Mm-hmm. I'm
actively using my breath to move that energy up my spine, move it up to the crown of my head, and then move it to the third eye, the Haru chakra. Okay, and then when I exhale, I'm consciously trying to move that energy through my arms and into my hands and down my legs and into my feet. So meditation is really this process of energy movement. And so then once I get this energy to flow, once I get this energy to move and to circulate properly, then my next thing is that I'm going to consciously will this energy to heal my body, to take away any type of illness, to take away any type of potential, disease that could be developing in my body, and also in my mind. So I want to release. I want to release negative thoughts. I want to release negative energy from my body. If I know that I have a particular ailment that's taking place in my body, I want to focus on that area with my breath and with my mind, and I want to send healing energy to that area of my body, and I want to release that negative energy when I breathe out. This is what's happening when you practice meditation. So then the next step after that is that you want to be able to use your, once you put yourself into that state and you bring yourself into that sort of oneness, that sort of mindful state, then you want to say, okay, I want to use visualization, and I want to visualize myself being who I really want to be. I want to visualize myself achieving the goals that I really want to achieve. So you put these images into your mind, into your consciousness, and then you use your breaths, and your breathing to project them into the universe, into the cosmos. And then they set, so it's like you're planting seeds. So so your meditation is your process of tilling the soil to prepare the soil so that when the seeds go into the soil is prepared.
Right.
The seed is able to take sprout. The seed is able to take root because you have prepared the soil, you irrigated it, you oxygenated it by turning it and all that stuff. And now that seed is in fertile ground. And so that's what your meditation is about. It's about creating a fertile place, a fertile consciousness place where you can plant your seeds that's how you create your own reality. Right. So that's a process. So when you read these books that talk about the secret, or they talk about the secret this and the secret that, they just telling you to think real hard about something.
Right.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to have an internal practice. And you also have to be able to, you also can't be putting all kind of crazy stuff into your body. Because when you eat animal foods, when you eat fried chicken and pork chops and all that kind of stuff, when you're drinking Coca-Cola and alcohol and so on and so forth, you're clogging up your energy channels.
Right.
And so because those energy channels are very sensitive, and if you're a person who has melanin, you are even more sensitive, and you're going to be affected more by toxic consumption than people who don't have melanin.
Yeah, this is really some golden information that you're sharing, because I like the analogy that you were using with the soil, because so many people, they spend a lot of time on the tree itself. What's going on with the tree? How can I fix the tree? But they never go back to the roots. They never go back to the soil and the seed, which is the emotional level, the energetic level, the spiritual level. People don't take it back that far. So the real healing never takes place. And, it's just very amazing how you're just talking about, using yoga for healing, because a lot of people, they don't think about yoga as a healing tool. So you're really exposing a lot of things today, and we appreciate that. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are fired up. I mean, I'm fired up just from, hearing you talk about this stuff. I'm ready to do some yoga after this podcast. But like, for people that want to experience Kemetic yoga, I know you do some Kemetic retreats. How could they experience that with you and do yoga on your retreats? Do you have anything going on?
Well, I always have something going on in terms of a teacher training. I do number one. I do I have people coming from all over the country and all over the world who come to Jamaica twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
I do a training in Jamaica. I do one in the winter. The one in the winter is coming up just January 16th to the 25th. And then I do one in the summer, and the summer one is going to be in July 2016.
Okay.
I have trainings coming up next week. Actually, this coming weekend.
Okay.
It's going to start in Chicago. So I have people who live in Chicago. Then I have people who are flying in from different parts of the country to take their training, and those trainings take place over a 4-month period. So the one in Jamaica takes place over 10 days.
Okay.
And the one it's more like it's more like an intensive, an immersion, where people come and they're staying there for those 10 days. But the one in Chicago and the ones in Atlanta and periodically I get to do them in New York and Washington D.C. and Los Angeles, different places. So those are going on. I also will be taking people who want to travel to South Africa. I'm going to be doing trainings in South Africa in this coming April.
Nice.
And also in August. And so people who want to come and not only train in Kemetic yoga, but also take a tour of South Africa to participate in those. What else? Brazil is coming up. That's going to be in October of 2016.
Okay.
And so again, people can travel to Brazil. We're going to not only be doing Kemetic yoga and training as become an instructor, people who live in Brazil and whoever comes with us from the States, but also you can, explore the culture and the history and the spirituality of Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
The Brazilian people. I think it's something like 400 million black people 100 million black people live in Brazil.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a very strong African culture there. And so they've been clamoring for Kemetic yoga to come. So I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there. So Kemetic yoga is, for me, it's like a movement.
Right. Yeah.
What I've been doing for the last few years is really trying to get as many people all over the world certified.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have people in various parts of Africa. We have people in the Caribbean. We have people in New York, D.C., Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, Nashville, Atlanta. All over the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And so if people want to take classes, we have instructors and around the city, around the country. There's about 1,000 instructors now.
Wow.
Throughout the U.S. and different parts of the world, in France, in England, and we also do a trip to Egypt too. It's not a training, but it's just a tour where people, and we do some yoga there. We do some Kemetic yoga there. Both on a cruise ship that we have, and also in some of the temples, we do meditation and chanting and things inside of the Great Pyramid.
I'm sure that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those who want to take yoga and they can't make your retreats, do you have a data, or is there a database that lists the different instructors throughout the country and the world where people might be able to look up where they can go to take Kemetic yoga?
Well, we're gonna put that up on the website. But if anybody is interested, that you trying to find an instructor in the part of the country where you live, they can just send me an email or call me.
Okay.
And I can connect them with if there's an instructor there, I can connect them with that person.
Perfect. And you also have instructional videos and resources out there that people can get as well, right?
Yes, I I have two instructional DVDs that can be purchased on the website yogaskills.com, and I also have an instructional meditation, a guided meditation CD that takes you through those 5 different steps of meditation. And we call that the Master Collection. And so that's available online for a little bit less than $50.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And just so everyone knows, all of Yirsser's information, his classes and his resources, will be sure to include those in our show notes. So we are coming to the end of our show. Quick sidebar question for you, Yirser. One of the yogas that's starting to gain a lot of popularity is like the hot yoga, the Bikram yoga. What are your thoughts on Bikram and like the hot yogas?
Well, I think doing any type of yoga is better than not doing. It's better than being sedentary.
Yeah.
So, Bikram is a man's name. You know, his name is Charlie Bikram, Chardoni Bikram, or something like that, or Bikram Chardoni. I forget exactly how you pronounce his name, but that's a person's name. This is something that he thought up. He said, well, we're going to do yoga. We're going to turn up the temperature in the room and do yoga, and it's going to make you sweat. Which I think, that's a good concept. Sweat, sweating is good. I go to the steam room in the sauna when I want to sweat, or I go to Jamaica and I work out in the sun. But one of the things that, that you have to think about too is that when you're doing yoga in a confined space and it's 100-something degrees, and you're sweating like that, people, and you're around all these other people, and everybody is putting off toxins. And they're not only putting out physical toxins, they're also putting out their energetic toxins into the atmosphere.
Right.
And there's no place for those toxins to go because you're in that confined space. There's no windows open in those type of classes. And so basically you are absorbing everybody else's energy, when you're in those classes. So a lot of times people feel like they feel drained till they feel really tired when they get finished with those classes.
Right.
And they may attribute it to the heat, but a lot of it may really be coming because you are absorbing so many other people's energy and stuff.
Wow. So, yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah, so we go to Jamaica, when we want to do yoga in the heat, or we just go outside. If it's hot outside, you just go outside and you do it in the fresh air.
Right.
And, I think it's good. I think it's good to sweat. I've always done that. But those are things that you have to consider. Is there really enough good circulation? Are you breathing in other people's sweat and toxins and all of this, whatever they're being released into the atmosphere? You are breathing that into your lungs. Right.
Yeah. And I would imagine if you're doing it in Jamaica on the beach, that water and the negative ions, that's detoxifying. So that's clearing out all of that negative energy that you're dumping off of you as you do your yoga practice. So that's the real hot yoga, in Jamaica on the beach right there.
Right. Or any place, where it's warm. Just go outside and do it if you live in Florida, or if it's summertime or whatever, just do it, but do something, that's all you got available to you, then do that. But
right. Absolutely.
You just got to take all of that into consideration.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that insight. And lastly, if there was only one thing that a person could do to have the biggest impact on their health, what would that be for you? What would you suggest?
They have to stop eating toxic. They need to adopt a plant-based diet and breathe and move.
Yeah.
It's, that's, I mean, if you did that, it's like, it's going to be very hard for your body to develop disease. People who have disease, they pretty much work very hard to get those diseases.
Really, they don't realize it. Yeah, but they worked hard to
Yeah.
get it.
Just like when a person is very obese, it's like they eat a lot of food for a long, long time, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
They invest in a lot of energy. They invest in a lot of money into buying all that food. They invest in a lot of time and energy to eating it, and they're not paying attention to how their body is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, year after year, month after month, so on and so forth. So then they wait 20, 30 years, and they say, "Oh man, look at me! I need to lose weight." By that time, it's like it's not too late, but it's like you got to work hard to get to reverse that.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanna say too is that in terms of Kemetic yoga, like one of the things that I emphasize is becoming certified as instructors. And our yoga skills, if you're going to get certified as an instructor of yoga, you're going to pay, thousands of dollars to do that. You want to be able to teach. You want to be able to teach yoga and make a living at it, or at least make a part-time salary at it or something. And if the only school of Kemetic yoga which is actually recognized on an international level is Yoga Skills School of Kemetic Yoga.
Nice.
Because if you do Kemetic yoga and you say somebody's telling you, well, we're going to give you a certificate, and it's not backed by anything, so who's going to really recognize it? Our school is recognized by Yoga Alliance, and so that's an organization that sets the standards for what yoga, for better or worse, that sets the standards for what constitutes a yoga teacher and a yoga training, and what's safe, the safety features and all those type of things.
Right.
So if you're going to get certified in Kemetic yoga, you need to get certified in Kemetic yoga, which is going to, number one, allow you to actually teach. If you go to a hospital or school, you're going to need a Yoga Alliance recognized certificate. You can't just have a certificate from a person who's just a dude who's just like, I teach Kemetic yoga, I'm going to teach you.
Right.
That's, so the certification is important, and, this is the original Kemetic yoga that was developed, at the beginning. In the modern world, the rebirth of Kemetic yoga in the United States started, with my teacher and myself. And then there's another brother named Yogi Khan, Babacar Khan from Senegal, and he, in the 1960s, he developed his own system of ancient Egyptian yoga, what he called yoga of the pharaohs. He was a protege of Sheikh Anta Diop.
Okay.
But these are the places where, these are the two origins of the rebirth of what our ancestors used to do thousands of years ago.
Right. Okay. Well, we appreciate that that insight, as well as the tip that a lot of our listeners can take as far as beginning to, eliminate those processed foods. And, me and my wife, we talk about it all the time, when we transition into a plant-based diet, just how much more flexible we became just by changing the diet, not even by stretching, just by changing the diet. And then even now, when we go on fast and do cleanses, we notice that we get even more flexible. So the point of freeing up blockages is important for people to really understand that they're clogging their systems and just really causing health challenges and imbalances that are going on. So thanks for that information. So any last final words that you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, just to emphasize the idea that movement and breathing are fundamental to everything that we do. We have to move our bodies. We can't be sedentary. We have to move. And to the brothers, brothers are so, oftentimes, are so backwards in terms of thinking that yoga is something for women.
Yeah.
You have to be flexible. You have to be flexible before you start to do yoga. And it doesn't even, it doesn't even make sense, because that's like saying I have to be fit in order to start to exercise.
Right.
If you notice that you're unfit, then you would say, I need to start exercising. You would say, I'm going to get fit in order to exercise.
Right.
So, and also just understanding yoga, the flexibility is not the most important part of yoga.
Right.
Your size is not important. You could be, a heavy person, a big person, a plus size person, or whatever you want to call it. You should still begin to practice yoga.
Right.
Because your size doesn't stop you. Your level of flexibility doesn't stop you. Even if you was in a wheelchair, you could do yoga in a chair, and if you couldn't do nothing but lay on the floor and breathe, then you're doing yoga.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just a matter of will. It's just a matter of effort, and we have to go past all of this, all of these superficial stereotypes that we have about being fit, and yoga is for women, yoga is for gay people, yoga is for white people, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, definitely today, with the information that you shared, you definitely gave people a whole new perspective of the necessity of doing yoga.
Mm-hmm.
So we thank you for that today. And before we go, I just, as Jamal mentioned, all the information that was discussed, any links, any contact information for Yirser and all the wonderful work that he's doing, his products, his certification trainings, his retreats, can all be found on our show notes page at lifestrengthandhealth.com/3, or go to lifestrengthandhealth.com/podcast and type Yirser, Yirser, in the search box. So, Yirser, before we go, I just want to say thank you so much for your time and sharing this powerful information. It certainly is inspiring. As Jamal said, it makes you want to go practice some yoga right now after we finish this podcast.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the work that you all are doing, and I appreciate Jamal, and who I met probably about 2006 or so, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you came to the training, and I'm glad that you continued on with your practice and with spreading the word.
Absolutely.
So keep doing your thing, brother and sister.
Thank you.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
We want to say thank you for listening to the show and for access to the show notes pages, more podcast episodes, blog content, as well as more information about our center,